Hello, and welcome to Neuro Digest podcast with me, Dr. Sylvia Machago. Today, it's been a long time since I did a podcast, and today I have a special guest. And special because I am interviewing my firstborn son, Mr. Daniel. And he's quite a fine young gentleman that has always intrigued me. So today I want to pick his brains and just think, or rather get to find out how it's like being a sibling in a family of special needs, how the journey has been, and the likes. So, Daniel, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Daniel Msioka. I'm a student at Kitui High School. Form 3 as of now. I'm the eldest of this family of ours. Of the 3 boys, I'm the eldest. Then there's Bradley and Andrew, my 2 beloved brothers. Yeah.
There's one thing that's recently people have been shocked when I say that I have an 18-year-old son, okay, going 18. And they're like, oh my God, I thought you only had 2. I'm like, no, I always say I'm a mother of 3 with 2 of special needs, but I think people just focus on the 2. So have you ever faced such challenges or something whereby with the focus that your brothers are always getting, how does that make you feel? Does it make you feel some kind of way or?
Okay, generally, as a personality, I'm introverted, so it's not much of a problem for the focus being on them. It's actually somehow of a benefit because you'll find that it's like if we meet someone who knows you by on the way, they're like, oh, your children are so they've grown up. And then you hear, and this is my firstborn. And then, mostly people who know you and meet you in person when we're with you, they think that I'm your younger brother.
Because you're quite tall, you don't look like my son anymore.
Yeah, I think being tall and all, and also looking like not a child.
So in short, you're saying you look like an adult.
Somehow.
Mr. Somehow. All right, that's good to know that you're an introvert and this does not make you feel somehow. Because for me as a parent, sometimes it annoys me, or it makes me feel like I'm like I don't talk of you as much. Yet I always start with that statement. Like I said, I have 3, but it just disappears somewhere as the story goes. But living in this complex setup in terms of being an only child, Andrew coming, your brother coming, and the complications that came with it. For me as a parent, what I normally see, it's like you had to grow up very fast. In this, I mean that while other kids are busy playing for you, you are there helping mommy all the time. And I don't regret it sometimes because it turned you to a very fine gentleman. But how has that journey been of you taking up all these responsibilities? And on top of that, not having your dad in the picture. How do you feel that has been?
Generally, the growing up fast thing, it's something you get used to. Like just depends on how quick it is. For me, it's never really been a problem. But you find that in school, I'm referred to as like a bit childish. Yeah, because I don't like taking things seriously when you don't have to. Because
You've seen it all.
yeah, now you just want to see the bright side of life. Like
So that's a positive.
yeah. The story of growing up without dad, that one has not affected me that much, I'd say, because the finest young men are raised by their mothers. I'd like to believe.
Oh, I'm flattered.
It's a very nice experience to be raised by a mother. I'd say, like, okay, looking at other, let me say, other people my age, how some of them prefer to spend their time, mostly leisure time and time they have to themselves. I think it's greatly affected by how they were raised and the setup they were raised in. So, having been raised in a setup where it's full of responsibilities, you learn how to prioritize your responsibilities when you're in the teenage, yeah, which will greatly affect positively on the things you're doing and not doing.
I cannot say how proud I am of that statement on how comforted I am, because sometimes it felt like it was an injustice, you know. And even looking at this setup where we're having this conversation, we are currently in hospital. Baby B has been admitted. We've been here the whole day. I woke you up from your sleep, and all I said is, let's go. And you woke up and you just followed me, and without questions, you know. And what was going on in your mind when I was driving like a mad woman on the road?
Okay. From the time you woke me up, it was really much of a guessing game from when you woke me up, because today we were supposed to go hang out together. So my thought was, when you woke me up, was I had overslept. So I woke up disappointed in myself, and I tried to get ready fast. Then, while I was getting dressed, wearing my shoes, I had the car start and the gate was already open. So I just grabbed my shoes. I just went outside barefoot, no socks, just in clothes. And we went into the car. And then we got to the main road, then you put on the hazards. That's when it clicked. Yeah. Then you asked me to call Bradley's school. So that's when I realized it. So then there it was just a matter of trying to think, what can I do to make you more comfortable, or make your driving better. But you had already put the hazards on, so I was just a passenger there.
Yeah, the thing is, sometimes life makes you have to adjust. So I really had to learn emergency driving, defensive driving, you know, like you're panicked, you're scared, but you still have to be in control. You want to cry, you want to wail, but you just have to be in check, you know, because those phone calls are never easy. So I don't know, how has it been for you, especially like you remember like 2-3 weeks ago when we had doom and Andrew had a seizure and fell down the stairs, and I called you and you ran to the scene. What goes on your mind when these things happen, or how does this whole process of what they go through make you feel?
What I'd admit is it's not easy sleeping. Mostly if it's like a Sunday and Maria has to go out and I'm left with them, and it's really like the thing for one eye open while you're sleeping.
Sleeping with one eye open.
But now it's one ear open because anything can happen. So for that specific day, actually, I was sleeping in actually, but I was also alert. So I had that thing. The when Andrew fell, I had the rumble, but I never thought much of it because I didn't hear any reaction because Maria wasn't around. Maria was in the was doing the laundry. So I thought it was just like something fell from downstairs or like he tripped. He was okay, but it startled me. So like I was already awake. Then I heard you run past. Then that's when I got there. Now the thing of when you see your sibling in an episode, it's many things go through your head. You start thinking like maybe I would have prevented this, but then you just start like you learn to realize that you can't control everything, but you like trying to prevent a lot, which is why you might find I'm usually strict with them with some of the things they do. It's not that I don't like their freedom, but there are some freedoms of theirs that I'm not quite comfortable with. Like if when Bradley's in the kitchen and you tell him let him do, it makes me uncomfortable because like I've grown up to be making very specific scenarios and overthinking things like what if he starts boiling water, it falls on him, he burns himself. The overstimulation, he has a seizure, or like he pours water, he sleeps, he falls, or like you can tell him to do some heavy lifting. Like Andrew, I'm not quite comfortable with him heavy lifting up the stairs. That one I've never been comfortable with. Something else of when they're having an episode is what you want to try and remember is the last time, what was done, and what you need to do to make it him more comfortable. So for me, I've just kept on reminding myself 3 things. He needs space, he needs comfortability, and like don't restrict him. Those are the 3 things that I've kept in mind, and the others just come naturally. Yeah.
So sometimes when you look at how I know I am strict, and sometimes I'm like, maybe I should go easy, and I'm like, no, I need you to be the best version you can be. Even we thrived through all of this, and then when you see they do something, and I'm like, no, let him try it. Let him try it. Does it feel unfair?
Unfair sometimes because being raised in an African house, there are some things growing up I couldn't do that the boys can do, and some things they are let go of easy, let off easy. So yeah, sometimes it's frustrating to see them being let off easy for some things. Yeah, but yeah.
Define being let off easy, or give me an example.
There's some, okay, you'd call them minor mistakes, like let's say Bradley likes tampering with things. There's some things that he tampers with, and you're just like, like, it's okay, it's ADHD, we understand. But so for Bradley, like what I tell many people that caregivers for Bradley is if you ukiacha akuzoe, if you let Bradley get used to you badly, he's gonna manipulate you badly. Even though Bradley has ADHD, he's a very smart person. Mostly reading people psychologically. Yeah, many people might not realize it, but I've read Bradley so many times. Yourself, you see it when he wants something that you have with you. He'll be like, you want this, trying to convince you that you want that thing, but then so that he can also take it with you. Yeah. So there's just some things that needs proper disciplining, even though the persons with special needs, they still have the same growing up. Like growing up for boys isn't much different. Discipline must be there, and having someone to set them, to set them straight. Yeah.
So that I should be a bit firmer. Don't you feel I am firm depending on the scenario also? And depending with what it is. Because sometimes you are so tired. Like, let me tell you my side of it. There are those things that can vex you. There are those things that like, okay, that's replaceable. There are those things like that moments when I have no energy or I am too angry. If I start, I might crush you. So it's called self-control. For you, you were the firstborn, so it was whole hail on you having to be thorough and perfect. And you turned out okay. So I don't regret being extra strict when it comes to that one. Yeah. And just the aspect of interacting with other people and listening to other people talk about them. There's a story I always say in my interviews and conversations. For this day, you guys were out on a Saturday morning, and I think someone said, I was asking you to go for an event and said, don't go with your brothers. And I know you did not know I was listening, but I was listening from my bedroom. And you said, there's nothing wrong with my brothers. You just need to understand them. They are cool. How did such comments from people that stigmatize and discriminate your siblings make you feel? Even now that it is a public story, that it is out there, how does that make you feel? Or when you're in public and people stare, and people treat them differently, how does that speak to them?
In the past, when I was younger, when I was the 8, when I was still taking care of them when they were very young, going to these events like birthdays or like hangouts, mostly on weekends when there was no one else in the house and you had to rest after work. So I had to take that responsibility. Usually my routine was get you breakfast, make sure you're rested, then stay with the boys. So staying with the boys for that specific day, yes, I remember it. One of my friends was asking people around, like in the evening after lunch, they had the party where you go to the house, you sing, and like you just hang out. So this specific friend, they had a bad experience with Bradley, and not Bradley, but Andrew. There was a time Andrew, we were hanging out with him, and I was trying to get him to play football with the others. But Andrew, there was a time we call it chenga. He like where you prevent the person from getting the ball. So they were playing, but they were restricting him from getting the ball. And there was a time he got it, and one of them shouted at him, and that's when I drew the line and just said, like, if you're not cool with him playing, you should have just told me. And I okay, at that time I was somehow cocky. So I said, if it's a ball you're refusing him to get, I can even buy 100 other balls and not give you even one. And that was just a comment out of nowhere. But from there, I just didn't like that's when I started getting that feeling of other people really don't like my brothers that much. And that's when I realized if they don't like them, who is going to? So that also enabled me to start caring for them even more. Because even in school, sometimes when I'm in school myself and I imagine them in school, like there was a time you mentioned them going to boarding school, and I just sat and thought, like, who would take care of them properly in boarding school? Like, every human needs a social interaction, yeah? But for Bradley and Andrew, well, mostly Andrew. Bradley is a very social person. Too social, even for me. Like, to comment on Bradley, even I get nervous sometimes when we are working together. He could say hi to the most random person. Like, to the most random person. And I'm just like, that look, you're trying to like tell someone not to be uncomfortable with your eyes.
Yes.
You're trying to tell them.
For me,
Yeah.
so much when what people don't get is like when he's being typical Brad and just goes like, hi, hey, my friend, and people just stare and ignore a simple and a pure like, it's just hi. What does it cost to say hi back to a child? You know, do you ever get vexed like that? That thing really irritates me. Anyway, back to it.
Yeah. Bradley is very social. So, yeah, I think he took that away from my personality because my social skills are not the best. So, but on the other side, Andrew is a very quiet and to himself kind of person. So for him, if he doesn't have someone to speak out for him, or like if he just stays by himself, like it's not right. Like I'd say with the recent thing that happened, we were with Brad and Andrew in the playground where we stay, and it was very crowded that day. There were many kids, and Bradley was socializing with them, trying to play with the ball with them, but Andrew was just with his stick walking around. There were some kids on the slide. Then when Andrew went there to try and join them, they moved to the swing. And at the moment, I couldn't say much. I was just like, maybe they just decided to change. But then Andrew stayed there a bit. He slided all he wanted. Then he went to the swing. They moved back to the slide. Then I went and asked, like, why are you avoiding him? Then one of the sentences I've hated hearing most, to me, to them, is that he's weird. We don't want to hang out with him. That sentence, it wasn't the first time I heard it. When I was studying in Visa Oshol and Parklands, that statement, he's weird, is a statement that I am very familiar with. So I just tried to explain to them, like, at first I asked them, how is he weird? then they weren't able to answer. They just said he's just weird, and like I asked them what makes him different, and then like one of the kids told me he just acts funny. So there you can't even continue. I didn't even continue. I even stopped playing with the friends I was playing with. I was there with a friend, we were playing ball. Just told him to continue with the others, and I just sat there with Andrew until Bradley got tired. Then we went back home. So the social interactions with neurodevelopmental challenged children, or if I may say autistic children like Andrew, it's not the easiest thing, because the interests and what they find fun very different, in not different but different ways. Yeah, because Andrew with his sticks, many kids fear Andrew when he has a stick, although he doesn't hurt anyone. They just get scared. And there was a time Andrew was playing with a stick and kids started running away. Andrew thought it as a game, started chasing them. And there was a parent who came to me and talked to me, was like, why is your brother harassing my child? And he thought it was a game. He hasn't hurt anyone, he hasn't done anything. So yeah, but it's just a matter of having someone to defend them, since they can't speak up for themselves. Yeah.
See, for me as a parent, that is a very sad situation, because it just shows how the community does not know, even in this day and age, with all the advocacy that is there, that even in our family setups, we do not have conversations about inclusion, about difference, and about generally these things. And yet kids like Andrew and Brad still have to be part of society, and if they're not given the opportunity to mingle and integrate with the community, then how else will they be able to, if everyone runs away? And for people being judgy without seeking to understand, and just writing off and just putting a brand on someone, it's not easy. And in time, you just learn to forgive. As much as we get the pain, I know him, he doesn't even understand what's going on. He doesn't even feel whatever it is. That's especially that thing of when kids run away and he thinks they're just playing, so he follows them, It's quite a painful scenario, but we're hoping that the world will be a better place over time. And one tough question, in when you look at your future, how do you see it? Like, if let's say anything happens to me, and you're, of course, one of the few people I can entrust to be with your brothers, do you think that is asking a lot? Do you think that's something that has crossed your mind, or it's a natural thing that is just default setting, that living with them is for the rest of our lives? Or do you feel like there will come a time when they will be able to branch and be independent?
It's not the first time it's crossed my mind. It's something that comes up when you're just sitting, like the time you can't get sleep, you just start thinking. I have thought about it severally, actually. And what I see it as is like we're gonna stick around for a long time. Yeah. For there's another podcast I was listening to that I had that separating with your brothers is one of the worst things you could ever do. At that time, I was listening to a financial podcast, which was highlighting on that you could make money living with your brothers and have like a joint income, like a joint pool of funds. But basically, it was taking care of each other, like having your brothers around, take care of them, take care of you. So that thought of which is, it's not it's a thought I like getting rid of very fast. The one of you having to go, because it has disturbed me a lot. Like if you've noticed, I've also started researching on the things for insurance, whatnot. I even ask you some questions sometimes. But it's a scary thing to think about. But when you realize it's something inevitable, uh, it gets you thinking.
Realities of life that, yeah, everyone, the two things that are only two things that are guaranteed, life and death. So we're supposed to be prepared for both, although it scares me to death. To death itself. It's one of the things I can't even begin to imagine. I can't even fathom. There is no word of just trying to figure if me not being there, and you can hear how cruel the world sounds, And sometimes I say, if your own, this is the reality, like if your own dad would walk away the way that happened, and that's your father, blood, then who else will be there for you guys, And it's not that way. It's just hard. So always remember, I need you guys to stick together, and I'm very proud that you're listening to podcasts and thinking way ahead of your years. That's very commendable. Very, very commendable. Any other concerns that you may have or thoughts in this whole journey? And out of the stories that you've said, which one, if you haven't had an opportunity to share, has been your worst experience with?
Worst experience. That's a tough one. I can't really say I've had a worst experience, because over time you get to adjusting to everything, that it becomes regular. But one of the worst things I'd say that maybe took a toll on me, that changed like my perspective on things, is a time I was in school boarding in St. Mary's. It was just a regular day, everything was okay. But then I got into an argument with someone. And, arguing, you start throwing words around. So the person I was arguing with started throwing words around, and then ended up saying one of the worst things I've ever been told, that you're stupid just like your brothers. And that was the first and the last time I've ever raised my fist to someone. I've ever told you, yeah? I've never told you this. I thought I told you. Yeah, it was my first school fight ever. The first fight I've ever gotten into, the last fight I've ever gotten into. I just wanted to be the last one. Because at that point, I just got into a fit of rage and just pounced on him. It's just a few minutes later that I just realized my friends were holding me back. Like, I had just lost myself, if I can say that. Like, I don't remember much of it. I just remember the words, and like afterwards, I was there with him. had a bleeding nose. After that, I just started thinking, what am I gonna tear myself with? How am I gonna explain myself? Apologies. We didn't talk. Like after that, we did not talk at all. No, never. For the remaining, it was in class 6. So the remaining 2 years I had in that school, we did not interact. It was just like we were taken by the matron, or let me say the nurse per se, and I just tried to explain myself, and I tried to convince her not to take it higher than where it was. Like since mostly, I wouldn't say that he was at fault, but those words, like I tried to tell matron that those words were not the best. Yeah, but that is what I'd say was the worst experience that has changed me. Like these days I'm very passive. Even it's in school where I am, people see me, they see a big guy. They just see a big guy and they're like, oh, this guy can beat me up. And you find there are guys who like having dominating mentalities. So they just come at you and just start like they just start trying to provoke me, yeah. But it's become these days it's really hard for something to bother me.
So it has toughened you up.
Yeah, I wouldn't say toughened, but like it's not a matter of toughening. Yeah, like no battles, no injury. Yeah.
That experience made you realize yes, so generally that experience made you realize the way you can just, it can turn and touch a part that you didn't even, a level of anger that you didn't know exists within you. And equally, that's how the same can actually bring out the best of you, can bring out the best of commitment, the best of everything, that, you know, that not wanting people to continue with such ideologies, wanting to fight. That is what I did with mine. You know, when they say what things thrown at you, instead of throwing back, you use it as stepping stones. So use those experiences to do something better, to do all the programs that I do for the advocacy, for the challenges. Now this is where I pick the things I want to change in the world to make it a better place for our kids. Because you see, sometimes people speak so badly and they forget that they are humans. They forget that they are actually not stupid. I'm sure they are smarter than he is. It's just that, yeah, for sure, yeah. And it's just the way they look at things differently and they process things different. But we always want to think of ourselves as more superior, just maybe because we can talk. And yet they're not yet talking. Or we do things this way, and just because they're not as loud and all of that. And that's the prejudice that needs to stop. And yeah, thank you. You've shown me a lot of insight, and I've always wondered that story of being a special needs sibling and how life revolves around it. Has it ever had any positives?
Actually, being raised in a family of special needs is probably one of the best things that have ever happened. I'd say, like the positives are very visible. Like as I said, like you know what to do. Responsibility becomes a very major part of your everyday thinking and prioritizing. Like you know what your priorities are, Like you'd be hearing from people like your age mates are all like, oh, there's a party here, oh, there's a party here, we're getting wasted here. But when you have the mindset of having responsibilities every time, the things you can't do, and you have other responsibilities elsewhere. So I found during the 2020 period where people are idle,
COVID.
COVID period, I got myself into gaming. I usually use gaming as somehow of both an escape and a way to keep myself busy, and also divert my attention to, I wouldn't say constructive, but at least it's not the worst thing out there, because I know some people who have made very terrible decisions and are in tight spaces right now because of the free time they had and how they used it in the wrong way. So being raised in a special needs family where responsibilities are everywhere, it's a very, very nice thing. Yeah.
Remember, what is that greatest quote I say? Freedom
Comes with responsibility.
perfect. And that was a quote from the famous Mrs. Karanja, Principal Alliance Girls High School, when I was going there in school. And it is one that I live by. And trust you me, those are the things that you just cement in your mind. And it helps you, because even when people tell me, oh, how do you manage? How do you balance life? How do you do that? That is where it came from. Freedom comes with responsibility. And when you're the master of your time, when you're the master of your time, that means everything you can do, you are the one to plan it. So it is your responsibility. If you fail, if you pass, so you have all the power with every decision that you make. Any parting shots?
Parting shots.
Last words.
All I would say is that parents should really have a sit down with non-special needs siblings, yet to really listen to them, because some might be going through a lot. Some of them are not as controlled as I am. Some of them can't withstand the pressure, the restrictions and everything. I have a friend who has a sibling with Down syndrome, and there was a time we don't talk much these days, but there was a time he was telling me that he couldn't handle many of the responsibilities much, and some of the thoughts that he was having weren't the best. And I was just asking him to have a talk with the parents, because some siblings really don't take it lightly, the difference, because having something he told me was having a special needs sibling who can't communicate with you is there's a certain loneliness where you're in the house but you want to open up to someone younger or someone who's close to you, someone younger and close to you, and you can't go to your sibling because your sibling won't understand you, and they won't really talk much back to you. So yeah, that takes a toll on some of the siblings out there. Yeah, so yeah, I just like to say that should really sit down at least once with and listen to them.
So make time and listen to the siblings if you're in a family with special needs, because they also are fighting their own battles and need to be heard. That's quite something. Thank you very much, my beloved first womb produce, my big baby. I'll say you always be forever my child. That has been my first child, Daniel Musioka Wanemasu, telling us about the journeys of being a child in a family with special needs children and navigating the streets in the same and facing the challenges also that come with. I have been yours truly, Dr. Sylvia Mora Muchabo Akinsiku, the founder of Andy Speaks for Special Needs Persons Africa, here on Neurodigests, where we give you real African stories, real time, and from real experiences. Do keep us posted and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. And see you next time.